So a little bit about the triggers. So Codefresh is a CI/CD platform for Kubernetes. So its nature that we are running pipeline as a result of different Git events, commit, push, pull request, and any other standard events. So it was already supported and very successfully adopted by our customers. However, as evolving of the system, and we see that more and more customers using Codefresh for deployment and for complex container delivery workflows, there is a need for additional triggers. And recently we introduced the framework that provide the ability to add new triggers. And on top of this framework, we implemented two triggers. One, triggers that can run pipeline as part of events that coming from Docker Hub. So basically you push your image to Docker Hub from any place, from Codefresh, from other tools, container builders, or even manually, and I will show this use case as well. And this will automatically trigger pipeline in Codefresh. In addition, we introduced cron jobs that provide the ability to execute a specific pipeline in chosen interval of time. It's very useful in many use cases. The most common is, for example, you want to deploy your code to staging or to other environment every night, every period. You want to constantly, for example, test running environment to measure or to validate that it's okay, etc. So this capability is supported as well, and I will show it immediately. And we are going to support more and more custom interesting triggers. Most of them will come from community, some of them will come from us.
Yeah, and I would just add on that cron jobs thing. I know that I know a lot of organizations who like to deploy to a sort of canary set of servers automatically or on a very close interval, and then they'll do the deploy to production sort of once a day. So they have just a little more control. And then another thing I really like about cron jobs is you can do things like checking automatically to see if underlying image dependencies have changed. Maybe you're building off of a base image. So that's another really great use case for those cron jobs.
Yes. Okay, so a really short diagram that just emphasize or visualize the flow and the use cases. So every time after you will define the trigger of Docker Hub in Codefresh, inside Codefresh, you will push to Docker Hub through CLI, different CI tools, including Codefresh, API, and Docker Hub will generate the webhook, and this will immediately run pipeline. One of demos that I will show right now is how we are going to deploy to run in Kubernetes environment once the image was changed. Okay, so let's do fast demo, and for this, again, I will use the repositories that by the way public one and will be shared, and it includes a few pipelines. Build, but basically build multi-stage Docker build and push it to registry. So let's see how it looks like. Okay, so this is my repository. Okay, this is just an Express Node.js application with a multi-stage Docker file. So let's change something in this repository and make the commit. Very straightforward. We can, I don't want to show the full Git flow. So basically I would create the branch and then merge it to master. Currently just for demonstration, I will just change something. Maybe now new features. And I will push it. Okay. So let's go back to Codefresh. So immediately you can see that started a full pipeline of this repository. So basically, we clone the code, okay? We execute multi-stage build that includes cache phase. Cache phase basically just for the dependencies, Node.js, node modules, dependencies, etc. Right after it's running the test phase that basically build phase that basically testing this code. Okay, you can see immediately that it's running some gulp test, and after that it's building the final deploy image that will be pushed to an internal Codefresh registry and Docker Hub. Okay. So this is Docker Hub step. Let's just wait that it will be pushed. Okay. Okay, good. So we are good. The image was big. Okay, but pay attention. Immediately right after this, started additional pipeline called deploy. Okay, how it looks like. Okay, basically currently this pipeline only was triggered by change of the image. And here I'm just printing the payload, the information that comes from the Docker Hub. Okay, so you see the image name, you see the whole information, and I can use this pipeline to validate that this image is, for example, secure, if this image is ready for deploy, and finally to deploy. So let's show how I'm going to deploy it. So I have here this step of deploy. I will just uncomment it. I'm using Helm to deploy to Kubernetes. I will not spend the time of showing the all our Kubernetes stuff that we have super cool features about integration of Kubernetes and facilitation the whole CD for Kubernetes. But basically just will deploy to some staging environment. And for example, currently, if what I will do is just manually will push this image to Docker Hub, we will see the same effect. And now after I will enable the deployment, we will see it actually deployed. So let's say I'm again changing the something here, okay? But this time, I'm not going even to push it to Git. It's kind of, imagine it's kind of hotfix. I'm just building the image, okay? I will put hotfix tag, okay? and right after this, I will push it to registry. This will actually, I prefer to put right now the master tag. I'll explain immediately why. Okay.
Now, while this is pushing, I would just mention to our viewers, obviously we don't want you to, don't go and build images locally and then push them to get deployed. In general, that's not the best pattern, but the point here is to demonstrate that there is this capability. And in fact, most organizations of any reasonable size will have sort of a split organization of trust where the people who are capable of deploying and the people who are capable of making changes are essentially different. And so this lets you set up that sort of two-stage pipeline where somebody can create and execute, and then when the images are ready, they can push them up, and then those can be taken and handled essentially by a different level of security or a different team. And you have a lot more granularity and control over kind of how you box those permissions out.
Yes, definitely. Of course, as you mentioned, the point is to separate between a Docker push phase and actual post-push logic and execution. And Codefresh facilitated it's now very, very easy. It will increase the ability to control the quality and different aspects of a Docker image. For example, before the push, you can check the security, you can check additional items because it's totally separated. And currently, you keep the build image pipeline very short and from one side, but from the other side, when you take the Docker Hub event and actually doing something with this image, you can, in parallel, do more complex stuff. So here, currently, I deployed this to Kubernetes. You can see that I have webinar release, okay, and here I have the webinar demo endpoint, and this deployed to production.
Now, just a question. If you would show the UI for the triggers again, this is something that's very new inside of Codefresh because typically the triggers were all built off of essentially either running the custom webhook or just being linked to Git. Now this trigger UI isn't available today. Is that correct?
So currently we finished, first of all, thank you for asking, then currently it's available for, we finished successfully private beta, and on Monday next week, it will be publicly available. Currently it's was run on our partners, and from the Monday, it will be ready for everybody. Basically, and I really encourage to use it because basically now you can use Codefresh even in post Docker image phase. However, again, our ability to build images is amazingly fast. But if you want to run our pipeline on post Docker push phase, currently it's very easy. So let's very short see how you can define the trigger. Okay, so I will delete the triggers that I added. So it's very, very simple. You can choose the registry or cron option, and as I said, many is about to come. You will put your namespace. Basically it's your user, how Docker Hub basically which terminology Docker Hub is using for a user. This is basically this part, okay. Then you will put the email repository name, okay. and currently the supported action is push, and a regular expression for filtering the tags. For example, you want to run this pipeline only when a tag is production or ready for QA or any other pattern, versions and web version pattern, etc. Okay, so let's say I will say production.
Yeah, and I'd add here that this push image action, this tagging action, the way that a new tag is added to an image is essentially through a push. So it will, even if you just added a new tag to an existing image, it would fire off of this trigger.
Exactly, a tag, label, everything that actually changed the image, add additional layer or change the tag will be pushed. Okay, so we have the endpoint, and now we added the successfully added the trigger. Now, if I will go from our UI to and follow the URL that exists here, I will come to webhook Docker Hub webhook page, and I can say and from this point I created the reference for between pipeline and this event.
And just a question on that, we've been focusing on Docker Hub, but is there any reason that this wouldn't work with other registries that I have connected to my Codefresh account?
So we are going to add, currently it's specifically work with Docker Hub, but we are going to support every existing registry. Of course, those that support hooks. Hooks in general is not kind of standard, okay? It's not like every registry must, as part of specification, to support it. So we need to implement it to every registry. But the great thing that is very easy to do with our framework, and we even if a registry do not explicitly expose webhook, we can, in very smart way, to identify the changes and trigger this event.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
So in the interest of time, I think we probably better move on to another feature unless you had any last words on this.
Yeah, only to show the UI of cron. Very easy. You can add the interval. Okay, so for example, say I want to run it every minute. Here I can put some message. The currently attribute of this job. It's really works after a minute. Oh, okay, so. Okay, and if
you're going to run out of builds really quick here doing it this way.
So meanwhile, I will move to something else, but you will see that after 1 minute it will be executed. Okay. Cool. So any question about this?
No, this makes a lot of sense, and it's been a highly anticipated feature from a lot of our users, and I even see it in the webinar chat, people saying this is really cool.
Somebody asked about the additional registries, and as you already articulate, and yes, we are going to add tens of useful triggers based on our framework. And all of them will be available, where most of them will be public. Okay. So let's. So as I promised, the cron job was executed. Okay, and here as part of event metadata. you see that the information of came. Okay, so every minute it will be executed till I will cancel this.